Hey guys, this is Erica, the love coach.
And this is Leash, the Chakra Queen. And you are tuned in to the Let It Go Sis podcast. Let it go, sis! Hey guys, we are here for our first podcast. Me and Erica are here to let you know. Let it go, sis.
Let that shit go, please.
Period. So, the name of our podcast is Let It Go, Sis. We're basically going to talk about healing, toxic relationships. What else, Erica?
Healing childhood traumas with our
Yes.
parents, relationship trauma.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get into a little bit of spirituality, manifesting, all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good to me. So, basically, we're going to start off today with our first relationship. Bruh. I don't know how I feel about this, but I'm ready to let it go, sis. Let's go.
Jump in.
We're going to start with you.
Oh, me first? Okay.
Yes, you first.
All right, so let's jump in the time capsule real quick.
Facts.
This is going all the way back to 2005.
Damn.
I was about 17 years old. For those of you who don't know us personally, me and Alicia have been friends since like the 10th grade, and now we're 33, so that is a long friendship.
We met in photography class.
Yes, we met in photography class, and she's actually a professional photographer now.
It was meant to be.
What happened with my first relationship was he was my first serious boyfriend. He was actually the person who took my virginity. So yeah, once you have sex, it's a whole nother ball game. Like that's when you get attached, and so it kind of sucks that my first serious relationship was toxic. But let's get straight to the point. Um, we had a good relationship in the beginning. Everything's always that honeymoon phase, and then things change. What happened was one day it was definitely the summertime. I remember it being warm. I was in the car with my mom. We were just running some errands, and I was calling my boyfriend at the time. He wasn't answering my calls. I was texting him. He didn't answer the text message. You know how that goes, ladies. I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay, he's probably just busy. So we're driving down the street, and I see his car parked in front of a store, and I knew for a fact it was his car because at the time he had his name right on the front of the car. You remember that car, Leash?
Yes.
So I was like, Ma, you gotta turn the car around, and she's like, oh God. She turns the car around, and I pull up next to his car, and he rolls the window down, and I see a girl inside, and she kind of looks like over at me, and I'm just like, oh God, here we go. So we turn the car around, and he pulls over next to me, and he actually didn't get out the car at first. Just me and the other woman came out the car, and we start going at it with each other.
Oh, he's a punk. He's a punk for that.
So we we get out the car, and I say to her, like, who are you? And she looks at me crazy, and she says, I'm his baby mother. And I was like, what do you mean? Because at the time, I forgot to mention this. At the time, I actually had just found out I was pregnant, like a few weeks pregnant. So when she told me that she was his child's mother, I was kind of confused because I knew he didn't have kids. So I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, I'm pregnant. And she pointed at her stomach. And I just remember that being like the worst day ever. I've never experienced anything like that. At the time, I trusted my boyfriend. I trusted men, period, because I never experienced a toxic relationship. I didn't experience being cheated on or hurt in that type of way. So I didn't know how to feel.
Wait, so was that the very first thing that happened in that relationship that was like bad? Like, was it good up until that moment?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I don't remember I didn't remember any other situations that was like, I feel like that was the first time I found out that he was like cheating or lying about stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, so that situation turned into this whole big thing. Of course, eventually he comes out the car because we looked like we were about to fight, and he was basically saying she's lying. Don't listen to her, Erica. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's not pregnant. She says it all the time. And at the time, I didn't know what to believe. Till this day, I don't know if she ever really was pregnant or not. But the issue here is that I trusted him, so I took his word for it. I believe he said she's lying. He did say she was his ex-girlfriend, and he said that, he was with her because he was just helping her out with something or whatever. Like, they were still friends, which I respected because, I mean, I feel like most of us have, friends of the opposite sex. So I didn't think anything of it.
Especially us, like our group of friends, we've always had. It was like a mix of
Men,
us, as
men
men,
and women.
yeah, men and women. So to us, it's like, okay, you have a female friend, so and
Right. So, I mean, yeah, it was just crazy that day. But after that, we did make up, and we went about our lives or whatever. But slowly but surely, things started coming up again with the same person. Like, there would be times he was on the phone, and like he wouldn't answer the phone in front of me, and he would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go, walk to the store real quick," and then I would see him out the window like on the phone. So it started like after that one issue, it started to get to the point where, I could tell he was hiding things or still dealing with that person. There was one incident where, mind you, this was like further along when I was pregnant. 'Cause I remember like being really big, and I was at his house, and we were watching a movie or something. I heard someone yelling his name outside.
oh
And
my god, I remember this.
I didn't remember it until just now. So yeah, a lot of memories about to come up. I
Oh
might
my
get
god,
triggered.
it's so crazy.
Someone was yelling his name outside, and I was like, "Who is that?" And he really acted like he didn't know who was
Who
screaming,
was?
you know. And he kind of just like, ignored it and was like, "I don't know, I don't hear anything." And we kept watching the movie, and then I heard them call him again, and I'm like, "Somebody is outside calling your name." And he was like, "Oh, trying to play it off like he doesn't hear." And I got up, and I was like, "Let me see if someone's at the door." So I'm walking to the door, and he kind of like pushes me out the way, and he runs down the steps and opens the door, and of course it was his ex-girlfriend, the girl that I seen him with
That's crazy.
in the car that day, that was pregnant. So what ended up happening was, and this, we're really going to get into like me being toxic. Like, I remember this day so clearly now that I think about it. I remember when I seen her at the door when he opened it, I ran into the kitchen. Don't judge me. I ran into the kitchen and grabbed like a butcher knife and ran down the steps. I swear to you, I was ready to hurt that girl.
Of course.
And
You were pregnant.
right, so pregnancy
Yeah.
hormones was off the chain.
Yep.
And I remember him pushing me back, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna kill that." I don't know if we're allowed to curse on here like that,
We can
but
curse.
so he was holding me back, and I remember her saying, "Oh, you're crazy, you're pregnant, what, are you gonna stab me?" And I was like, "I don't give a shit if I'm like," I was so crazy. I didn't care. I feel like all you females can relate who have been in toxic relationships, where you had a moment where your adrenaline was just like, you don't care that you were pregnant, you don't care that you were like outside in a blizzard, like you were ready to fight whoever.
I just remember so much stuff from that relationship. It's so funny. I remember when me and my boyfriend at the time had to come get you. Remember?
Oh my
God.
god.
I remember, but this is after you had the baby, actually.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
only like 3 months.
We literally had to come get you on the train because we didn't even drive or anything like that.
We were so
and
young.
I remember, my boyfriend at the time was like carrying the baby in the carriage, and we were in, I forgot where that
Far
was.
Rockaway.
Far Rockaway. And we had to come all the way back to Long Island on the train, carrying the baby. It was just a lot. It was a lot before, during, like, it's crazy.
For people listening who are not from where we are from, Far Rockaway is in New York. We're from New York.
York in the building.
Yeah, so see, I didn't even remember that situation that she
Yeah.
just brought up. And of course, that had to do with the same person. And this is what, like, the main reason why we wanted to start this podcast is to help people, not just women. I mean, it is called Let It Go, Sis, but I want everyone to know that we're gonna have episodes for men too, just because, I mean, toxic people come in men, women, it doesn't matter, big, small.
Come in men, women, children,
Come in
animals.
all sizes.
Spirit.
It
Your
doesn't
spirit
matter.
is toxic.
Right, like, we just want to help people, who have been through the same things we've been through, to just understand why these things happen and how to heal after it. Because just talking about all this stuff is making me realize how blinded we are when we're in love with someone. Like, I literally,
So true.
I literally went through so much with this one person, and I was so young. I think we were together for maybe 2 years. So from 17 to 19, we were together, maybe till I was 20. And through those years, like literally, we would fight about this same girl. And now
Mm-hmm.
that I look back on it, I'm like, why was I so dumb that I allowed this? Like, why do we continue to allow
Right.
this type of stuff to
But
happen
you
to
know what I wanted
us?
to say earlier, like when you mentioned like it being your first relationship, me and you both come from really good families. So I feel like we've had fathers in our lives that we thought all men were like that until
Right,
we knew that they weren't. So
right,
it's like we went into relationships trusting men. I know there's a lot of women out there that, don't have, fathers that are in their lives and stuff like that. So they already have that toxic kind of dynamic just from
right,
childhood. But for us, I'm like, yeah, my father's here, my father's present. So when we got into these relationships, we thought that that's just common. And so
right,
now we're older, we understand, a lot of through our healing, of course, but it is crazy.
right. Because it's hard to see that we allowed so much things to happen to us knowing that we came from a good family. It's like
Hmm.
I remember, not saying any names, but I remember one of one of our friends, I said one of your friends, said to me
One of my friends.
said to me, I didn't know your dad was still in your life. Something to that
Right,
effect.
like
He
it's
said
not
he thought
normal.
right. He said I thought you had daddy issues, and I was like, what? And
You look like you got daddy issues.
And I was like, what? I didn't know what he meant by that. But now, going through all this, I understand that usually people or women who don't have fathers or don't come from homes where their parents are still married, like ours
Hmm.
are, um, they have those type of issues with relationships. They attract toxic people because they have toxic men in their
Right,
life, in their family. And I didn't. Like, my dad is a good man,
right,
he treats my mom good. He treats
right,
me good.
right.
We were both like me and Alicia were both kind of spoiled growing up to a certain
Hmm.
extent. So I think because we were involved in somewhat toxic relationships at a young age, it just like we
But you
just
know what?
continued.
I think yours might have been just because you actually got pregnant. Like, had you not been pregnant, maybe you wouldn't have stayed with him for all of that
That's
time.
true.
You were having a kid, so it was kind of like, well, I'm pregnant, because I think you weren't living at home, right? Weren't you living with him at some point?
Yeah, after the baby was born, I did move in with my
Right.
son's father.
So maybe you wouldn't have. It was kind of like the situation kind of, since you got pregnant so early. What is like 6 months
Right.
in, you
That's
were pregnant
true.
when you got to that first issue, when you saw the girl.
Right. I
You were
had
already
that
like locked in.
attachment to him. Right,
Right.
right.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you brought that up because this actually could help women who are in toxic relationships with their kids' fathers because a lot of times we use the child as an excuse to stay in our
Mhm.
toxic relationships where we're like, okay, I have a kid with them. If I leave him, what am I going to do? I can't survive without him. I don't want my kid to come from a broken home or, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But take this as an example. It's like I didn't come from a broken home and I still,
Right.
somehow screwed up in my relationships. So I mean, it's all about your self healing. It's not
Mhm.
always because of your family dynamic. It usually sometimes is, but sometimes it's just things that we go through
Yeah, it could
in our
start from, family trauma, then goes to relationship trauma. It's a lot.
right. Because I mean, I definitely think now that you say that it was because I had a kid. Because if
Exactly.
I didn't have a child with him, it would have been easier for me to
To
leave
move
him
on,
and been
right? Like you
like,
had guys on your back. I remember Erica had the big old booty in high school. That's what Erica was known for, the big old booty. Okay. So I'm pretty sure you would have, you could have got somebody else. Like it's not like you were having trouble getting men. So it was
we're
just that you got
actually
pregnant.
we're actually going to talk about this in another episode about self sabotaging our relationships because I think that could have to do with that. I mean, us
Hmm.
self sabotaging by staying in situations that we know we could leave and that we're going to be perfectly fine, but we
Hmm.
stay in it because we choose to stay there. So that's
Right.
for another episode. But long story short, because I do want to jump into Alicia's first relationship, but
Oh God.
before I end that, what ended up happening in the long run is I just continued to let this situation go on for way too long. It came to a point where actually I found out she was staying at his house. The same girl, she was actually staying with him because I went in the closet one night and I found her clothes. I found women's clothes. I found women's shoes, and I was just like, "Whose stuff is this?" At this point, he's caught now, so he can't just make some shit up. So he told me it was hers, and I was just like, why is this here? And he says to me, she didn't have anywhere to stay. She has a lot going on in her life, which I understand. And he said, she
He's
didn't
so
have anywhere to.
understanding. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was too understanding. I was gullible. I mean, you name it. And I believed him as usual. And I was like, okay, well, she has no place to stay. That's fine. As long as you're not, sleeping with her. As long as you guys are just friends,
I'm not sleeping with her.
No, of course not. I believed him. So it was what is the word I'm looking for? It was a toxic cycle that continued on for years because I didn't break the pattern. I didn't stop it. So I ended up, actually, Alicia was there that day, when I found the shoes in the closet, and I was like, I'm throwing these out the window. So I took the shoes and I threw them out the window. I was like ripping her stuff up. I mean, it was, now that I look at it, it was traumatic. I mean, people might not be like, oh, relationships are not traumatic, but it's traumatic to know that this is my first serious relationship. He took my virginity. I'm having my first child with this person, and all of this stuff is happening. And I didn't know how to handle it, so I handled it with anger and bitterness, and revenge, because I was always trying to do things to get back at her.
Right.
I think the last straw was really when I think Alicia's involved in all my relationship situations. I think it was actually me and him moved to somewhere else, and Alicia had never come over my new place yet. And I remember her texting me and saying, like, Erica, does your, like, comforter set have, like, flowers on it? Do you remember that? When you found her, this was MySpace days. For you people in my age group, MySpace was before Facebook.
Oh, God,
and
this
Instagram.
is when the FBI started. Because
I became an FBI agent, so did she.
Yes, we FBI agents as fuck.
Y'all ladies know that we are all FBI agents when it comes to our man.
That's a fact, okay? And our friends, man, because... No, you're not gonna play with me or her. We all in this together.
Exactly. What happened was she texted me and said, "Does your comforter set have like purple flowers or something like that? And what color are your walls?" And I felt like she was joking with me. I'm like looking around, like, "Are you outside my window?" Because she was telling me all the colors that I had in my room, and I'm like, "How does she?" So she sends me a screenshot of a picture on this girl's MySpace. Mind you, it's the same girl that has been living in his house and that keeps saying she's pregnant. She sends me a picture of her MySpace. She's like laid up in my bed, or should I say our bed, because I was living with him, with the comforter over her and everything. And then I'm looking through her page. Not only was she in our house and in the bed, because remember, we moved, so this was a different place than when he was staying with her.
Right.
So
you were living there at the time, and she's in your bed.
Yes.
Okay.
I lived there. We moved in together. She's in the bed, so I'm looking through her other pictures on her page, and I found a picture. She said new tat. She has a tattoo of his name on like her thigh or something. And I think that was when it really hit me, like, wow, this man is really dealing with her, and he's been lying to me
and
all
calling
these
her
years.
crazy the whole time, because that's what they do.
He called me crazy, but he also called her crazy because he's saying that she was lying even though she wasn't.
Exactly. And telling her the same thing about you.
Right. And I think too many of us deal with stuff like that, and these are all red flags. We're going to have another episode about red flags, too, because there's way too many red flags in relationships that we don't pay attention to. We're kind of like, oh, it's not that serious, or it doesn't mean anything, or we constantly try to make excuses for these people, and we need to stop doing that. When I seen the picture of her tattoo, I was just like, there's no way they're not why would you tattoo a man's name on your body if you're not dealing with him? So when I brought it to his attention and I said, why does she have this? Of course, he lied again and was like, I don't know. She probably had that from before when we were together. I'm like, you never saw her tattoo of your name? I mean, it was just crazy.
Yeah, she just had the tattoo. She never showed it to me before.
The lies that people tell. And again,
and the lies we believe, though.
The lies we believe, because at the end of the day, and this is not me being a man basher, because again, there's women out there that do stuff like that. Right. I'm gonna ignore that real quick, but we're gonna get into the next part of the podcast. All right, so. With that said, ladies, based off of my story and my experience, I just want to say, please do not ignore the red flags when you're dating someone, whether it's a male or a female. pay attention to how they treat you. Pay attention to the lies they tell you and the lies that you believe. Make sure that this person that you're with is someone that is actually for your good, your benefit. Because at the end of the day, when I sit here and I think about all the stuff that I went through, I'm just like, why did I want to stay in that relationship, whether it was a lie or not? What part of me made me want to stay with a person who's constantly lying to me and hiding another woman
Right.
and making me feel crazy when I wasn't the crazy one? So ask yourself those questions
Right.
next time you jump into a relationship that's anywhere near to that one, because Lord, that was a toxic ride. But we're gonna get into more of our toxic relationships.
Yeah. Oh,
In
there's a
future,
lot of them.
in future episodes, we're gonna talk about other ones and get deeper into it. But for our first episode, we just wanted to talk about our first relationship. So, with that said, Alicia,
Uh-oh.
let's talk about your relationship.
Okay. Let's do this. Okay. So I think it's so funny because I feel like we had totally different experiences for our first relationship. Yeah.
Clarify that, please.
I might have been the toxic one. I might have been just a little bit. No, my first boyfriend was actually really good to me. I was probably the one that was more out there, kind of doing me. It's crazy to say because I don't think a lot of people actually know about this relationship, and I don't think I've ever like kind of admitted that I was the one I cheated. I did, but the more that we have started healing and understanding why, I would just say that I feel like I was toxic in that relationship because I just wasn't used to the love that he was actually giving me.
Right.
Which is something that we'll talk about later because it's like, what you mean you're not used to the love somebody's giving you? But when you're not used to a specific, like say you grow up in a house where you don't say I love you and stuff like that, it's something that's foreign to you. So the fact that this man would say I love you and I want to be with you and engaged to me and propose to me with no ring at that, we were young, so okay.
I don't remember that.
Yes, he proposed to me in my living room talking about I want to marry you, and I'm like, okay, like what? But it's like it was just too much for me at that time, and I was busy chasing the men who are emotionally unavailable when I had the one that was available in front of me. And it's crazy because after that, I think it's funny, both of our first relationship. Oh wow, I forgot to mention, both of our relationships, we had the same exact anniversary.
Yes.
12/104. And it's so crazy because I don't remember shit. I don't remember any dates. Like, I'm horrible with birthdays, but that's one date that for whatever reason stands out to me. I can say that sometimes I do feel like he was the one that, that got away because it's my first relationship, so I'm not realizing what I had at the time. And, moving forward after having toxic relationships after toxic after toxic, I kind of was like, damn, I started out good. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have the same experience Erica had. You know what I'm saying? So I was just kind of like, damn, I had a really good guy.
There's a saying that goes that people are scared of love, and
right. I guess I was scared. Yeah, I didn't know what I had until it was gone. I actually was pregnant too by him, more towards the end, and I had a miscarriage with him, and it was like really painful because I have issues getting pregnant. So I got pregnant after 6 years of being with this guy. Finally got pregnant and had a miscarriage, and then like shortly after that we broke up and he started a family. Like it was I didn't get hurt or any of that type of stuff until literally at the end where it was like, oh shit, I fucked up, And it's crazy because this is one person that I have not talked to since then. And now that I'm older, I'm like, damn, I wish I can say to him like, I'm sorry for all of the shit that I put you through because I just didn't understand my own emotions at that time. I was too young to understand what I had, so yeah. So
I think that it's good that we're all taking accountability, and even though people are quick to judge and be like, oh, they're a cheater, they're a liar, I think it's just all learning lessons that we go through, and part of healing is being understanding and like understanding why people do what they do. Because now, like when I see like someone who's like, oh, like cheating on someone, I don't look at them with like I want to say animosity or like, oh, they're a cheater. It's more like,
Mm-hmm.
what did they go through that made them
Right.
this way, you know?
And it's good to look at it that way, like, because before, like, oh, you cheat, oh my God, whatever, you are a horrible person, not realizing, like, this is just what a person is used to. This is what they grew up around. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's many different reasons. Like, I was telling Erica the other day, around this time, I felt like, I wasn't the girl that, like, Erica had the big old booty. I wasn't the girl in high school with the big old booty that all the guys wanted. So it was like when I finally started getting attention, um, it was like, damn, I'm finally getting attention from men, and I gotta, I got them locked down, So it was weird. Like, it was a learning experience, though. I can honestly
Yeah.
say, like, and there's things now that I'm, still healing from back then. Not even realizing that I suppressed a lot of the things that happened in that relationship that is still carrying out through my relationships now. But yeah. So that was pretty much the. I had a good man. Wait, but hold on. Let me just say, there were things though. He wasn't 100% good. I've caught him talking to women and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, I knew what I was doing. Like, I never actually completely caught him cheating. Like, it was never confirmed. There were little things here and there that I was like, okay, that's sus. But I know what I was doing. So it's kind of just like, I would say that I was the one who ruined my first relationship. So it's like, we had two different experiences. Mind you, while Erica's going through her bullshit, being faithful to her man, I'm over here cheating on mine, and we coming together to pick her up.
And
It's just crazy, like.
you know what's funny? That you mentioned we were actually pregnant at the same time,
We
not
were.
with my first kid. See, and
The
this is
second
crazy
one, yeah.
because that relationship,
It lasted that long.
yeah, Alicia was with her boyfriend for like what,
It
8 years?
was 6 years.
6? Okay, I was close.
Yeah.
It was like 6 years. I was only with mine for like 3, so we were literally friends throughout that whole thing. So I had my first child with my first relationship, and then I had a whole new boyfriend when she was still with this guy, and I had my second child when she actually got pregnant and then had her miscarriage, and it's crazy. It was really sad because I was excited. I was like, oh, we're gonna
Get
have
a baby
babies
together.
at the same time. They're
Yeah.
gonna grow up together like us, and but I feel like everything happens for a reason. So
Yeah, definitely.
so what lesson do you think you learned from you being the toxic one in this situation?
Well, I feel like back then, my lesson, was like, because once you get back out into that dating field and you see what's out there, you're like, okay, what the fuck did I get myself into? Like, I had a whole good ass dude, and I still feel like at that time I didn't really learn too much. I think it's now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean,
Right,
like,
yeah.
right now, what did that teach you?
Right. So, like, now as an adult, I'm like, okay, why was I doing those things that I was doing at that time? I knew it was like, because I also lost my virginity to him too. So that was the first person I ever slept with. So now as an adult, I feel like what I learned was that I just was emotionally unavailable. Meaning, and this is something else we'll get into. I feel like my family personally, we didn't grow up saying I love you or give each other hugs and stuff like that. So one of the things that happens in trauma is when, you don't do that. If somebody comes into your life that is like that, that's like, oh, I love you, give me a hug, oh my God. It's kind of like, bro, back
It's
up.
weird,
It's
yeah.
weird. It's foreign. It's not something you're used to. So when he was like that, and his family was very loving, so we came from two different type of family dynamics, and I ran, and I'm realizing that now through many relationships. I'm kind of like, wow, like, I would constantly blame the guys that I was with, but I'm starting to realize, like, oh shit, Leash, it could be you a little bit. Just a little bit, not a lot.
Not a lot of it.
Not a lot of it, just a little bit. But yeah, like, you gotta allow someone to love you, and I think I just didn't allow it. It was just too much. So I think yeah, that was from that. I think I've learned other things from other relationships, but from pretty much from that one, I just realized that was just me being emotionally unavailable from childhood trauma, which is not saying I love you and being emotional in the household. So it was just
Right.
too much for me.
We're actually going to talk about that in another episode
Yeah.
as well. Just how, like, why do we attract toxic people or why do we become toxic ourselves? And it's based off of our childhood trauma. So that episode is going to be really good because a lot of people just think, oh, women just like bad boys, or men are just good men are just attracted to bad women. That's not what it is. It's deeper. It's definitely deeper than that.
Right.
So I'm excited to talk about that as well. But yeah, that is episode 1, guys. We just wanted to like share our story so you can.
Everybody's gonna be like, this leash. Oh my god, they gonna be talking shit about me.
Yeah, I think she just exposed herself, but
I exposed my whole shit.
that's one thing that this podcast is gonna be, is just raw and real and authentic. That's what we wanted it to be, because we want people to see who we truly are, or should I say were, because that was the old us. But also we want to show you who we are now, like from like the beginning of our first relationship going into like any current situations where we are in life right now. And I think that's important for people to follow us on our journey, so that anyone who is in that type of situation now can get out faster than we did. Like maybe this podcast will help you, get out that one toxic relationship for you
the
to
red flags.
So you'll never do it again. Whereas we went through like 10 different toxic relationships.
Right. Like as on Erica's side point of view, it's like if this man has another woman around, those are red flags. Or even your own red flags is like, for me, like, why am I running away from this man that's giving me so much love? Am I emotionally available? So, you can view your own red flags too. It's not always about somebody else's red flags. Sometimes
take accountability.
You gotta take accountability and look at yourself. So yes, honey.
I hope you guys enjoyed that, and the future episodes are gonna be a little bit more drama filled because we were young. They get a little crazier, so you don't want to miss those.
Yeah, we were crazy. We were crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for us to talk about this now because we are not who we were back then at all.
Right.
At all.
Yeah, we've recognized our wrongs, and what we did wrong, and it's just a lot. I can't wait to tell all my business.
All right, so thank you for listening to the Let It Go Sis podcast, where we're gonna make sure you let that shit go.
Let it go, sis. Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys for tuning into the Let It Go Sis podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Let It Go Sis podcast, and my personal page, Erica Christine.
And my personal page at Artiste Photography and Chakra Queen 222.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Bye.